Hello and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR, and with me today I have Noah. Noah is a part of Big Banter Sports. He does a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff for Big Banter Sports, so you might not see him on a whole lot of podcasts, but we've decided to bring him up to the big leagues today, put his face out there, get to know even the behind-the-scenes crew here at Big Banter Sports. How you doing today, Noah?
Good, JR. Thanks for having me, man. I just like to show that even though I can walk the walk, maybe I can talk the talk a little bit too.
There you go. Yeah, well, I thought it was perfect because we're getting into basketball season. Obviously, we're doing one basketball show a week, and basketball is so analytics driven. I just figured let's bring the analytics guy on. How about that?
Absolutely. Makes sense to me.
Awesome. I love it. All right. Well, hey, we have a really cool episode for you guys today. So normally my first plan was like, well, let's preview some of the games that we're going to be seeing on November 6th. That is not going to happen because all of those games are stinkers. I think like the best one is maybe Indiana versus Florida Gulf Coast. And that was just because I kind of recognized that name from playing March Madness on PlayStation 3 back in the day. But yeah, so instead of doing that, what we're going to get to is we're going to get to some of these exhibition games that have been happening. Most of the big exhibition games are already over. And some of these you might not even realize have been played because sometimes they're called secret exhibition games. And so we're going to talk through a little bit of the box score. Neither me or Noah was able to go to the game, but we're going to talk through some of the box score. What did we see? What do we like? What do we not like? That kind of stuff. And it's just going to be kind of a good way to get us a flavor of the season so far, see what's going on, and we'll go from there. But before we get into that, I do want to remind you, Big Banter Sports, BigBanterSports.com for all of your Big Ten media needs, college football, and basketball. And if you're watching here on YouTube, please do like and subscribe. We appreciate it. If you're on Rumble, like and subscribe there or follow. I think it's follow over there as well. We would appreciate that. And if you're listening on podcasts, please subscribe. Please give us a rating. We appreciate that. Help us grow this thing. We are trying to get Big Ten media out there. The SEC has just completely killed us with media. There's not enough Big Ten media out there, so help us out. Let us grow this. It'll be a great time. All right, Noah, you ready for this?
Let's run it.
All right, so I have the box score to pull up here. So if you're watching on YouTube, you will be able to see this, and boom, I'll even be able to put up the score here. So if you're watching later on and you want to see what exactly game we're talking about, there you go. So Noah, when you were looking through this box score a little bit, obviously we have Purdue, who played Arkansas in this game. Purdue did fall 77-81. Purdue fans, I wouldn't take it too hard. These are exhibition games. They're not always played with the most effort, and they're not always coached like real games. So I don't want to make it sound like somebody wasn't giving their full effort, but you definitely don't want to get hurt in an exhibition game. So, Noah, when you were looking at the box score here, what stood out to you?
Honestly, what stood out to me the most, I saw a video on Twitter, and it was Zach Edey just getting pushed around, and then he kind of gives the final shove, and he gets called for a foul. And when I was looking at that and then look at the box score here and see he had 5 fouls in 24 minutes, our ref's going to be just a little tougher on him. He's coming back. He had a huge year last year, but are they just going to be just a little tougher on him, going to be a little less lenient than last year? Are we going to see Zach Edey foul out of a few more games this year?
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even look at the fouls there. That's a really good thing to bring up. Of course, that Purdue, they did have 17 fouls to Arkansas is what looks like 24 there. So it doesn't look like they were favoring Arkansas, but you're right. That's a really good point to see. Is Zach Edey going to be in a bit more foul trouble this year? Because that was like the complaint from everybody, right? No, nobody can call fouls on him or whatever. Purdue fans wouldn't like it because he was so big, he couldn't get fouls called on him. So only played 24 minutes. I did realize that, so that those 5 fouls fouling out there probably had a big thing to do with that. What about these guards here for Purdue? Fletcher Loyer scores 15 in 32 minutes, and Braden Smith scores 12 in 37 minutes. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, not a ton of surprise there. Those dudes are going to carry the load outside of Edey. They're going to take a ton of shots. They're going to be the dudes that are, tasked with facilitating, getting that ball inside. Really nothing here stood out to me. I was kind of surprised that they let them play over 30 minutes apiece. Specifically 37 minutes in an exhibition seems like a ton. Especially you led into this and said that this is the time you don't want guys to get hurt. And I feel like playing 37 minutes it kind of goes against that. Although when you have 7 turnovers, maybe you have some room for improvement. So,
Yeah, for sure. And I was looking at this when I saw the minutes. Braden Smith, 7 turnovers in this game. That's just not what you want to see. You don't want to see Braden Smith turning it over at that clip. Now you could argue maybe that happened after Zach Edey went out and maybe they had some issues there with that. But still, you want to see Braden Smith coming into their first exhibition game, taking care of the ball, doing what needs to be done in the backcourt, and making those things happen, because that proved to be the issue in some of their games was Braden Smith not being able to take care of the ball as well. We know the shooting is going to be there. They're both 2 for 6, which isn't bad. That's the first game. I'm not going to knock them for that from 3-point, but still, those turnovers, you can't have that. And Fletcher Loyer only had one, but it's definitely an interesting thing to look at there. Do you have any thoughts about the turnovers, Noah?
No, I mean, they lost the turnover battle for sure. Lost at 20-15. But I think at the end of the day, like you said, they had some turnover issues last year. I'm sure that's something Painter's been, preaching about all offseason. Playing 37 minutes, I'm sure there was some fatigue in there as well. I don't know how many of these turnovers came in the last, let's say 10 minutes of game time where maybe he was just kind of getting gassed and making poor decisions with the basketball. You also mentioned shooting. I want to point out Mason Gillis, 3 for 8, doing what he does, just shooting the rock. 3 for 8 from 3, I should say.
Yeah.
And on top of that, Purdue out-rebounded Arkansas 42-28. I don't think that's going to be a surprise to anybody, but just wanted to point out that Purdue already dominating on the boards.
Yeah, and of course, whenever you have Zach Edey in there, you should dominate on the boards. Even if it's only for 24 minutes, you should do that. One last thing I wanted to point out before we move on is Ethan Morton. So Ethan Morton, I think he's one of those players on Purdue that doesn't exactly get enough recognition for what he is able to do, especially on the defensive end. But he was able to hit some big shots last year, especially from behind the 3-point arc. This game, 21 minutes, 0 field goals attempted, 0 3-pointers attempted. 1 personal foul, 4 rebounds. That's it. In 21 minutes, I know he's a defensive guy, but you have to get some kind of offensive production out of Ethan Morton if you want to have a better chance, especially if you have him playing 21 minutes in the game. Do you have any thoughts on that, Noah?
No, I was about to say the same thing. If you're going to play 21 minutes, it's hard not to find a shot attempt at some point. Either, and you can't imagine, he's not seeing the other team's best defender or anything like that. You got to imagine that at some point he had an opportunity, and maybe that's just him being passive and trying to get other guys shots. But like you said, we know that they got 4 guys that are going to score the basketball, and Gillis, Edey, Loyer, and Smith. Morton might have to hit a couple shots for him. So,
especially to take that pressure off of them, you have to be able to consider yourself a threat on the offensive end. What's that NBA player that just never had any offense? Tony Allen, right?
Yeah.
From the Grizzlies. I mean, they just don't guard that guy because he was never going to shoot. He was never going to do anything offensively. Yes, he's a good defensive player, but yeah, you have to have some kind of threat on the offensive end to keep him honest. So, all right, well, let's head on over to the next one. We have Ohio State played Dayton in a charity event. This one was a little bit more well known. I heard from some Ohio State fans that it was really, really difficult to get tickets. So obviously, in the same state, you would think, oh, well, Ohio State fans be able to go to this. That didn't seem to be the case. Sound like Dayton kind of held the tickets a little bit, but Ohio State did come out on top, 78-70. This was Chris Holtmann. He said he was doing this kind of for his friend, the coach over at Dayton, to help with some charity. I forget what the charity was for, but it says up here. Oh, I'll have to slide up. There we go. 13,000 in attendance. That's good for a charity game, especially over there at Dayton. I know they love their basketball over there. Really, really good fan base over there. But let's talk about some of these Buckeyes. Bruce Thornton led the way with 27 minutes, and I was surprised by this. Dale Bonner, the transfer, not talked about very much, 26 minutes for him. So obviously Chris Holtmann was kind of subbing guys in and out here, but I thought that was interesting. Do you have any thoughts on the minutes overall here, Noah?
No, I think you said it exactly. When Dale Bonner transferred, I'm an Ohio State grad, I'm a Columbus guy, but I didn't expect Dale Bonner to get a ton of minutes. But it's funny, looking at his stat line, it reminds me a lot of, what was it, C.J. Walker a couple years ago that transferred in? The little dude played the point, came off the bench for us, and came off the bench for Ohio State and did a lot of the small things. And looking at what Dale Bonner's stat line is here, it reminds me a little bit of looking at C.J. Walker's stat line back when he was at Ohio State.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast just trying to get a little bit of a sense of this game before we got on here, and I remember the host telling me it wasn't a big banter podcast. I forget which one it was, but he was telling us, and he said Dale Bonner's speed is surprising. That he is just one of these guys that he can weave in and out of places and get to his spot, make his basket, and it's kind of like he gets there and you had no idea how he got there. So that seems to be a nice piece for Ohio State. Of course, he was only 1 for 6, 1 for 4 from 3-point. So it wasn't necessarily the best game in the world from that standard. He was -3 in the plus minus column. So I wouldn't say he had an outstanding game, but still 26 minutes. That shows that Chris Holtmann wants to get this guy in there and wants to get him gelling with the other guys. You have any more thoughts on this one, Noah?
Yeah, I mean, so Bruce Thornton was a guy at the end of last year. I think if you had watched him play from the beginning to the end of last year, he took huge strides from beginning to end. And then you look at the box score here, and it makes you think he might be a guy that takes a huge step this year. Ended with 21 points. Looks like he drew 6 fouls, which pretty nuts.
Mm-hmm.
He's a dude where Ohio State is going to have to rely on him and Jamison Battle. Assuming that Roddy Gale does not, continue his Big Ten tournament dominance where he just literally made every shot he took. If that is not the case, then Bruce Thornton's going to have to carry the load a little bit. And it looks like maybe he's ready for it, which will be kind of exciting to see. Another young, exciting point guard or whatever they turn him into, maybe a shooting guard in the Big Ten. It also stood out to me that the 2 freshmen, Scotty Middleton and Devin Royal, each got 18 minutes of play.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of years, it seems like Holtmann has been able to produce freshmen and turn them into NBA draft picks. Saw that a couple years ago with Malachi Branham, and then last year with Bryce Sensabaugh. So it would be exciting to see what he can do with these two guys. They're, both, I think, 4-star guys coming in, pretty highly recruited dudes. And so, exciting to see what Holtmann can do here.
Yeah, and I think the other freshman that was coming in was Tayson Chapman. I think he is injured. I think he has something going on. I don't know if it's like he can't play at all or if they were just holding him out. They didn't want to risk it. But I think he has something going on. But yeah, I was also going to point out Evan Mahaffey, the Penn State transfer. He was another transfer that people were kind of like, what's going on here? And then I'm listening to people talk about him in the off season, and people are saying, look, this is a guy with an NBA body. This is a guy that can really turn into an NBA-like player who wanted to go play for a coach who can take players with NBA bodies and turn them into something. Well, that's been Chris Holtmann these past 2 years with Malachi Branham, Bryce Sensabaugh. I almost said Bruce Sensabaugh. Bryce Sensabaugh last year. So he obviously has some trust from the coaches to be able to play this season as well. I'm just really encouraged by the starting lineup here for Ohio State. Roddy Gale, Bruce Thornton, Jamison Battle, Evan Mahaffey. I don't think he's in the starting lineup, but the other one would be Zed Key or Felix Okpara. All of them were plus 10 or more. Oh, except for Roddy Gale. Sorry about that. But all of them were plus 10 or more. Oh, and Felix Okpara. But Bruce Thornton, Jamison Battle, and Zed Key, all of them were plus 10 or more. And I want to say, Dayton's not a slouch team. Dayton is not a bad, mid-major team. They probably are going to win the A10 or at least contend for it this year. Probably going to make some noise in the tournament. Be one of those teams that people say, hey, this could be a team that gets an upset or does something pretty cool in it. So, it's early on in the season. Ohio State should have better athletes, should have better players, but still, Dayton, not a bad competition. You have any more thoughts on this one, Noah?
No, I think you said everything. It'll be interesting to see the minute distribution between Zed and Felix Okpara as the year goes on. But, neither one of those dudes is going to be able to lock down Zach Edey. So it's going to be how they can score outside of those two.
For sure. Yeah, that's going to be their biggest test, especially. I think that's everybody in the Big Ten's biggest test, though, is, the 7'6" Zach Edey. So, all right, well, let's get to the next one. We have Illinois. Man, Illinois in this one. I was listening to the Illini cast talk about this one, and they were fired up. So, Kansas, of course, Kansas has Hunter Dickinson. Kansas played this like it was a real game. I mean, you look at the starting lineup here, 30-plus minutes for all of them except their El Marco, who had 27, but their sixth man had 17 minutes. So they played this one, at least with the players, like their minutes, like they were playing a real game. And then you had Illinois with Terrence Shannon Jr., 35 minutes. I gotta be honest, I came away very impressed from seeing that they were able to take down Kansas in this one. I would have thought Kansas would have, maybe played it a little safe and, oh, maybe that's why they won. But no, when you look at this and when you hear people talk about the game who were there, this was a hard fought game. This was a lot of bumping elbows and a lot of hard basketball. Hunter Dickinson apparently really, I don't want to say it was a dirty play because I didn't exactly see it, but I heard it was not a kind play on one of the Illinois big men. So it was a hard fought game, and Illinois came out on top. What'd you think of this one, Noah?
Yeah, I was shocked when I looked at the box score, to be totally honest. That wasn't until I think I saw a stat where Hunter Dickinson is now going to end his career 0-5 against Illinois.
Yes, I saw that.
So if you're an Illinois fan, you're probably feeling pretty good about that. And maybe it's just a Hunter Dickinson curse. Maybe he just can't beat Illinois.
Yep.
Maybe it's something to do with that. But yeah, Terrence Shannon, 28 points, 35 minutes. I was reading up and hearing some stuff, and they said this game felt like a game in March. Heard the environment was great, especially for an exhibition. And you look at the starting lineup for Illinois, and you see the two dudes at the top, Terrence Shannon and Coleman Hawkins, who if you're a Big Ten fan, you knew those names already. So really nothing surprising there. I think you said everything. They played it like it was a legitimate game. Everyone's playing 25, 30 minutes, playing hard. I thought it was a fun game for an exhibition.
For sure. And if this is the kind of guy you can get out of Terrence Shannon Jr., I've been a little skeptical of him. I've been a little harsh on him, okay? Going back to the preview and going back to our media days episode when we were talking about who are the best players, I said, no, I don't think it's Terrence Shannon Jr. And it's not because I don't think he has the talent. It's because I don't think he has a consistency. And so the very first game of the season, to see him go out there, 28 points, 8 of 13 on shooting, 5 of 9 from three-point land, that's really, really encouraging if you're an Illinois fan. And you look at this and say, just keep it going, just do this and keep, maybe you're not going to score nearly 30 points a game, but, be the efficient player, the efficient shooter that you need to be. And if Coleman Hawkins can be efficient like he was as well, 4 of 9 from the three-point land, he was 4 of 11 shooting, which is not great, but he was 2 for 2 on his free throws and 14 points. If you can get this kind of production out of your top two guys like this, it will take enough heat off of the other guys that you should be able to open them up and give them some points. Quincy Guerrero, 13 points. Marcus Domask, 11 points. I mean, this is a kind of game where it's really, really encouraging. And I might have to rethink what I was talking about and say, Illinois might be a top 3 team in this conference. What are your thoughts on them, Noah?
Yeah, no, I agree. I was looking through the AP rankings again just to make sure that I saw it right. But Illinois, I think, was 25. Is that what I remember seeing?
Yep.
And just looking at this and seeing the AP ranking, I mean, obviously it's an exhibition game, and I don't want to react too early or too quickly to anything like this. But for you to be able to go and play against a Kansas team who's playing this like it is a real game and beat them by 7, maybe this is a top 15 team in the country, if not a little better than that. It'll be really exciting to see, can Terrence Shannon, like you said, can he be consistent? He's probably going to need to shoot a little better than 70% from the line, especially if he's going to get there 10 times a game. But can this Illinois team, be consistent, and can Terrence Shannon and Coleman Hawkins, really lead the way and take them on a deep run, both in the Big Ten tournament and in the Big Dance?
Yep, that's what you're going to need if you want it. Illinois, the question is always a little bit of guard play. Does Terrence Shannon Jr. have the guards around him? He can't be the only ball handler all the time. You need some guards out there to do that. But judging by the turnovers here, not a lot of turnovers. Ty Rodgers had 3. He led the team with that. When your primary ball handler has only 3 turnovers, I consider that pretty good, and everybody else has less than that. So Coleman Hawkins with 5 fouls. Do have to clean that up. You can't foul out like that. But other than that, hey, I think this was a really encouraging thing for Illinois. I'm always a little skeptical of the exhibitions, like you said, but from everything I heard, that this was a game that, Kansas was really trying to win. This wasn't a game where their starters only played 25 minutes and they tried to get the bench out there. This is a game that Kansas wanted to win, and it sounds like Illinois did too, and they came out on top. So very impressed with that. So
the one last thing I would say, only 8 assists. That can be a little concerning, especially as the season goes on. You're going to need a dude to step up. You're going to be able to pass the rock a little bit. Eventually, Terrence Shannon, like we said, is not going to average 28 a game. You would expect he could, but I'd be surprised. They're going to need to average more than 8 assists a game.
Yeah, and you can't go 1-for-1 ratio on assists and turnovers for your point guard there. 3 assists, 3 turnovers for Ty Rodgers. Got to be better than that. But it was enough to win in this game, so why complain about that, right?
Absolutely. It's easy to
uh,
admit now.
exactly. When you know the results, it's like, well, we can complain less. So. All right, let's move on to St. John's and Rutgers. St. John's won, of course, the new Rick Pitino St. John's. They won 89-78 against Rutgers. This was a game that I think it looks like Rutgers was not treating this like, a real matchup. They had every single player play more than 10 minutes, it looks like. Rick Pitino and his guys, their starters played most of it, and it was double overtime, so I should add that into it. But this doesn't seem like a game where Rutgers and Steve Peichel were trying to do their best to win. It seems like this was more about get the guys their minutes, let them play, see how they do, kind of stuff like that. Maybe grade out the team and see how they go. So like I said, we do have to adjust minutes because it was double overtime, but in this situation, I just don't know if Rutgers had the same goal going into this one as St. John's. Did you have that same thought too, Noah?
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially as, you look at the St. John's starting lineup and you see all those dudes playing, significantly more minutes than the Rutgers starting lineup. You have Dennis Jenkins playing 46 minutes, Glenn Taylor Jr. playing 43, like that, you don't see that a lot in an exhibition. Obviously, Rick Pitino taking over the team, new head coach, a lot of new guys transferring into St. John's, particularly. Might have been more of a significant game to them than it was to Rutgers. The one thing that did stand out to me from the Rutgers side was Jamichael Davis. I actually had to look up who this dude even was, to be totally honest. And when I looked him up, I think his 247 recruiting profile listed him at 155 pounds.
Wow.
He was a 3-star kid. I'm sure that the first thing he did at Rutgers was put on some weight. I didn't see these games, so I don't know what he looks like now. But he put up 16 points, 6 rebounds. When I saw the 6 boards is kind of when I was like, how big is this guy? I looked him up, like I said, he was like 6'2", 155 is what he was listed on his recruiting profile. But it's got to be exciting for, Rutgers to have a freshman come in, play 34 minutes, score 16 points. Yeah. I think if you're Rutgers, that's maybe the one, the big positive you take out of this game.
Well, if you told me a freshman was going to do that, I would have thought you were talking about Gavin Griffiths. He was the one that I had number 5 on my freshman ranking going into the season. It was kind of a hot take, but, I looked at it and said, this is what Rutgers needs this year. I was looking at it more like who's going to be the most impactful, not so much who's going to be the best freshman. But I looked at it and said, Gavin Griffiths is what this team needs. And it turned out to be true because they were 4 for 20 as a team. Gavin Griffiths had 3 of those, 3 for 8 from behind the arc. So, they need 3-point shooting. Gavin Griffiths is going to bring that. But I have to also say, I was impressed with Cliff Amoria. He played 37 minutes and only 4 fouls in 37 minutes. Now I know you would like for him to not get to 4, but still in an exhibition game, like I said, where they're going a whole lot harder, it sounds like with St. John's, and they're probably going to try to get him in foul trouble, to only commit 4 fouls. I think that's good for Cliff Amoria. I think that he's improving in that area. It looks like, and I think Gavin Griffiths, even though this was a loss, it looks like he is the kind of player that they need coming in. So between Jamichael Davis and Gavin Griffiths, I think this was an encouraging setup for Rutgers. Did you think the same?
Yeah, 100%. Like we've talked about a couple times already. Not the same goal here. St. John's wins the game. Rutgers gets some of their young guys on the court. Griffiths and Jamichael Davis, 34 minutes apiece for their freshmen. Griffiths takes 15 shots, leads the team in shots. Like you said, kind of shows that he's going to probably be the guy this year for him. And other than that, I don't feel like there was a ton to take from this game. They fought. I think they were down 20, is what I heard. I think they were down 20 in the first half to force.
Yes, 41-23 at the end of the first.
Yeah, I think at one point they were down 22. I think was the biggest deficit they faced in the first half and came back to force overtime. I think you take that as a positive too. Obviously, you don't want to get down 20 in the first half, but the fact that you're in an exhibition game and you don't roll over has to be taken as a positive too.
Well, and I also think that in this one, Steve Peichel was probably really happy with his guys coming back. And then after the first overtime, it's 8-8, in that. And so they're going to the second overtime. And I think at some point, Steve Peichel was just saying, all right, let's just end this thing, So I'm not going to say that he told his players to not try. That's not what I'm accusing them of. But I think at a certain point, you're like, listen, guys, this is an exhibition game. We don't need to go into 3 or 4 overtimes here, let's play the guys who need the minutes and kind of make this thing happen. And like I said, that's kind of what it looks like here. I mean, your lowest minute guy was Antonio Cole with 11 minutes. Next up was Oscar Palmquist. I think I'm saying that right, with 13 minutes. So even your lowest guys are still getting 10 plus minutes in this one. It's clear that Steve Peichel wasn't just playing as starters. So
yeah, and everyone took a shot in this game. Which, like going back to the Purdue game, Ethan Morton played 21 minutes, no shots. Yeah. Everyone took a shot in this game.
And I think that's Rutgers ball, I mean, Rutgers ball, they are going to share the rock. They're going to pass it around and make something happen, and everybody's going to get things in together. So it's a well-coached team. I'm excited to see what Steve Peichel can do for the rest of the year. And if I'm Rutgers, I'm walking away encouraged from this. Obviously, I don't like the loss, but I'm walking away encouraged from this. All right, any more thoughts?
No, I think that's it there.
All right, so we'll get to Penn State and Robert Morris. We have a big game, Michigan State, Tennessee. We'll do this one first, and then we'll get to Michigan State, Tennessee. So Penn State, Robert Morris in this one. Penn State wins 68-58. No overtime in this one. It was played at Penn State. Only 2,500 in attendance, so it's clear that they weren't putting this one out as a big one either. But nonetheless, Penn State looks like they were trying to win this one. They were really doing their best to try to get their guys out there. They had 3 guys go for 6 minutes, 6 minutes, 2 minutes, and then everybody else was above 10 minutes. So they were playing their starters and really trying to get them their time. Ace Baldwin, the transfer from VCU, played 33 minutes. Zach Hicks played 33 minutes. Do you have any thoughts on this one, Noah?
Just looking at the box score, Raquandis Mitchell has to be in contention for the best name in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
I think that's the big takeaway here. I think we can just move on.
Yeah, right. And the Q is capitalized. Make sure we remember that.
Yeah, and don't forget the W.
Yeah. It's not a U, it's a W.
No, I think when I was reading up on this game, I think I saw that Robert Morris was bringing back like 10 dudes and an experienced head coach, Penn State, new head coach. Pretty much everyone, pretty new to the team. You take the good with the bad. You only win by 10 against Robert Morris, but at the same time, you win by 10. Your best player, and Ace Baldwin, goes out there, shares the rock well, has 6 assists, only has 3 turnovers, 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. That's a positive there. Mm-hmm. And he's going to play good defense. He's an A-10 defensive player of the year. That's what he's going to do. So if you can get him to come in and do that in the Big Ten, you're probably going to be in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, and I mean, your first game in, you hold the opponent under 60 points. That's good. I mean, I know, like you said, it's Robert Morris. It's an exhibition game, but you hold your opponent under 60 points. That's what you want to do every single time. If you can go into a game, you can hold your opponent under 60 points. I think you consider that a good defensive performance in that one. I was really impressed by Wahab. I don't know, I'm terrible with names. Wahab, 4 offensive rebounds for him. I think that is impressive. I think that's something that you like to see. He did have 10 rebounds and 15 points, so a double-double for him. You're excited to see that.
This is a game, and shooting 5 for 18 is probably a statistic where it's a team with low expectations, and nothing really changes for me here. Wahab, I don't even want to try to say his first name. I'm sure I'm going to mess it up. Yeah. Having 15 and 10 and only having 1 foul is encouraging, but I don't know what kind of size Robert Morris has to actually compete with him. They might have some. But again, I don't know exactly what that matchup looks like, and so I don't want to read too much into that. The 4 offensive rebounds, like you said, kind of encouraging. But when you're shooting 5 for 18 from 3 against realistically a subpar Robert Morris team, 11 for 17 from the free throw line is not great. This is a team that has low expectations, and I would not expect to really exceed them. They lost so much last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. My bad there on looking at the right one. Thanks for correcting that. Yeah, 2 for 10 from Zach Hicks behind the arc. Ace Baldwin did hit 1 for 2, but yeah, this game and DeMarco Dunn, he was 2 for 2. So, but still, like you said, 5 for 18. So, yeah, we'll see if Penn State can find their offensive rhythm a little bit more. But they will probably most likely be the defensive team that we think they will be under new coach from VCU there. So, all right, any more thoughts on this one, Noah?
No, I think if Penn State exceeds expectations, I'll be honest, I'd be a little surprised. They got a lot of new guys coming in, first year head coach. Would expect them to underperform.
I agree. All right, let's get to Michigan State and Tennessee. This one was a close one. Tennessee did come out on top, 89-88, but this one was at Michigan State, the Breslins Center, nearly 15,000 in attendance. So definitely those Michigan State fans were there and cheering them on. When you look at the box score here, it looks like Tom Izzo was trying to get a lot of different guys in there. Tyson Walker did get his with 33 minutes. You had a few other guys with some good minutes, but nobody else got over 30. You had 4 of your 5 bench guys getting over 10 minutes. So this is one. Xavier Booker only got 8 minutes. That was a little surprising to me. I would have liked to see more for the freshman, but he is a bit of a project. So maybe Tom Izzo is holding out on him a little bit more. But you look at this game, it looks like Tom Izzo was kind of doing the Tom Izzo thing and just kind of getting his guys in there, let him get their feet under him and kind of evaluate the team. Do you get the same sense there, Noah?
A little bit. I would have honestly, this is a game where I wish I might go back and watch it at some point. It'd be really interesting to see how he subs because Tyson Walker getting 33 minutes, Malik Hall getting 28, and Hogarth getting 27. It looks like, I mean, his starters played. I'd be really interested to see the rotations if he was playing Walker with Booker, you know what I mean? Or he was just giving Sissoko a quick blow or things like that, like what the actual rotations looked like here. Because Tyson Walker playing 33 minutes is a pretty significant amount of minutes in a typical game. I think I saw a quote from Izzo where he said that this game felt more like March than like any other exhibition game he coached, or maybe it was something along those lines.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about 2, top 10 teams. Both of them looked it from what I can tell. AJ Hogarth is, in his 18th year of college at this point.
Pretty much, yeah.
I think he's actually like a grad assistant too. He does that on the side or something like that.
Wow.
I mean, it feels like he's been there for as long as I can remember, but he's steady Eddie. He's going to do what he's going to do, and what he's going to provide. Sissoko is, in my opinion, one of the better bigs in the Big Ten. And like you said, Xavier Booker, it'll be really interesting to see how they bring him along as a 5-star dude coming in, and can he contribute for them?
Yeah, I don't think it's a worry. Like I said, only seeing 8 minutes for him. Like I said, I think he is a bit more of a project. I don't think he is going to be the production guy right away, like maybe a Gavin Griffiths or some of those other freshmen who are coming in, Mackenzie Mbako, those type of guys. But he will definitely be a good player for them. Jeremy Fears Jr. did get 13 minutes, so he played a little bit. But this Michigan State team definitely going to be led by A.J. Hogarth and Tyson Walker. And I got to believe Tyson Walker just kept playing because of how good he was playing. I mean, 22 points, 5 steals, 4 assists, only 1 turnover. The guy was 4 for 8 from 3-point arc. I imagine, like I said, I didn't see this game, but I imagine probably what will happen here is Tom Izzo was probably subbing a lot of guys in and out. And then he saw the end of the game and he was like, let's get my guys in there and see at the end of the game if they can take on this, kind of exhibition, end of game kind of hot moment and see if they can take care of it. And obviously they did it, but, if I'm a Michigan State fan, I'm not too worried about that one. If you're a Michigan State fan, you coming away feeling good, feeling indifferent. How are you feeling after this one, Noah?
I think you're feeling a lot better about this than you are about your football season.
That's true. That's why they had so many fans at this, because they didn't want to go to the football game.
They might as well have just scheduled them at the same time for all they care. They might as well have just put them both on a Saturday and said, hey, go to the basketball game. Our football team's going to lose anyway.
Exactly.
No, I think if you're a Michigan State fan, you leave this game feeling pretty undeterred. If you started high, you're feeling, the same. I think, like I said, this is the 2 top 10 teams. Both of them looked it. Both of them sound like they're going to be there in March. The one thing I do love to see is Malik Hall with 7 fouls. I love seeing these guys because in an exhibition game, you just don't foul out. Mm-hmm. Love seeing when guys take advantage of it. It's just street ball out there, Foul them as many times as you want.
Right, yeah, I mean, you'd like to see less than that, but you're right. 7 fouls, that's not something you'll see pop up on the box score at any other time. But, 14 points, 11 rebounds. I gotta believe he was down there just battling the entire time, really trying to assert his dominance. And we know Tennessee is one of those teams where they really battle with you and try to assert their dominance as well, especially who they were last year. So, it could have just been one of those games where it was really, really hard fought down in the bottom, and the rest were just like, guys, chill. We're gonna blow the whistle to help out. So
now, if Luke Hall had gotten to 10 fouls, would you have ever seen a triple double that looked like that before?
yeah, pretty much. All right, let's move on to the next one here. We got two more left, and these ones are a little less impactful than some of the other ones. Nebraska played Doane. Again, I'm terrible with names.
Hold on, wait. Can we look at the names here real fast? Hold on,
Okay,
go back to Doane. You got Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. It's the first name on there, and I'm sure his name is actually Cooper Sheldon, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You got Guy Moran. Just his name is Guy. And then you got River Johnson. I mean, this team is just stacked just on names alone.
Yeah, I love it. Preston Harms. Oh, Preston, what are you harming? River Johnston. I think that's so funny when people have the name River. I'm not making fun of it. It's one of those names that I'm like, who first named their kid River? Did they have their kid near the river? Is that how it first happened? So Nebraska wins this one 84-53. Looks like Fred Hoiberg was playing his guys a good amount of time. Not playing exactly to win, but they had 3 guys off the bench get over 20 minutes in there. The sad news coming out of this is that Kasai Tamanaga, sounds like he had a pretty bad ankle injury. There was a picture going around on Twitter. We don't know a timetable for that. At least maybe they've announced one, but I've not seen one for that. So that is concerning, especially going into the year with all the expectations of what he could be. He only played 8.5 minutes, so obviously he got injured, did not go back in after that. I don't think you'd want to put him back in after that anyway. But what do you think that does to the team if he does have to miss significant time this season, Noah?
I mean, it's definitely going to force someone else to step up. And you look at the 3 guys that had 20-plus minutes off the bench, and you look, one of them has to. And it looks like in this game, Eli Rice did. 18 points here off the bench in 23 minutes, 7 for 14 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3. If he is going to miss, if Tominaga is going to miss any time or extended time, you're going to need to, a lot of production to come from someone else. Not only that, but a lot of minutes. So seeing Eli Rice go out there and give you some of that production, finish with 18 points, or even Jerron Coleman, who had 12, and he drew 5 fouls and didn't have any on him for Coleman. I think, that's something that as, for Hoiberg, you have to be encouraged about at least slightly that if my guy is going to miss some time, do I have other guys that can step up? And it looks like in this game they did.
Yeah, I think this is Nebraska's year to make it inside the top 10 and do something a little bit more special than maybe they've done in the past under Hoiberg. Now, I think Hoiberg's a good coach. I just don't think he's hit his stride with Nebraska yet. I was thinking he might get fired last year just because of the distaste for what was going on and everything with the football program. Fans were a little unhappy there as well, but he did kind of save his job at the end of the year as well. So, and I think that was the right decision. I think Fred Hoiberg can make this happen here. I do think Tominaga, like you said, they need somebody to step up. I hope that is Eli Rice. It is hard to lead the team in points with only 23.5 minutes of play. But obviously this guy's a scorer. This guy can get it done. He had a plus 18 on the plus minus there. He was 7 of 14, 3 for 7 from behind the arc. He led the team in 3-point shooting. So if he can be one of those guys to really make it happen with his shooting and do a good job that way, they might be looking at somebody and say, hey, Tominaga, go ahead, rest up, maybe take some time off in the out of conference, and then when we get back to the conference, maybe we'll get you back in there. So like I said, I don't have a firm update on him. Please go research that if you want to know for sure. But yeah, so any other thoughts on this one here, Noah?
No, I mean, nothing crazy. It looks like they shot 54% from the field. It's a recipe for success, but I don't know, I've never even heard of Doane. Never mind. Could I tell you anything about the talent level? So you probably should shoot 54% from the field if you're Nebraska here. It might be like them going to play against UIndy. I don't know.
Yeah. There's something about doing what you're supposed to do as well, right? Maybe you don't look at it and say, "Oh, that was super impressive," but they did what they were supposed to do. They got it done. So.
Exactly right.
Do need to improve the 3-point shooting though. Only 6 for 25. Do need to get better at that. So, all right, let's go to our last game. Indiana played at Indianapolis, University of Indianapolis. So, in Mike Woodson, he was playing a lot of guys in this one. Anthony Leal had 11. Peyton Sparks, their kind of backup transfer center, he got 7. Malik Renew led the way with 27 minutes. So it was definitely an interesting one to look at here. Mackenzie Mbako had 25 minutes. So, yeah, I think it was a good combination of Mike Woodson was playing his guys, but also just realized this got out of hand because they did win 74-52. Do you have any thoughts on this one, Noah?
Well, the first thing that stands out to me, so Gabe Cupps, does that name ring a bell at all? I don't know if you know who it is.
Yep.
For those of you guys that don't, I think, isn't he the kid that challenged LeBron to a shooting contest a couple years ago?
Yes, he was.
Gosh, I mean, talk about a kid with confidence. He actually he beat my alma mater in the state championship game in basketball a couple years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was following it. I'm many years older than him, but I was following on Twitter, and I saw that Gabe Cupps was that guy.
That's cool.
So it's kind of funny seeing his name finally show up on a box score after him, absolutely just running through Ohio high school basketball for the last couple of years.
Yeah. And he was a guy that Ohio State wanted, right?
Yeah, but if I remember right, I think Gabe Cupps committed to Indiana like super early on.
Yeah, and I think Ohio State was trying to get him to flip because they wanted him, but I think he stayed true to his Indiana commitment.
Yeah, no, that sounds
Obviously
right.
He's there, but
yeah, and I think, like I said, I think he committed as like a sophomore, maybe like early junior year, and I think his commitment was always like, at least around Ohio, it felt pretty solid. Because he was the top kid in the state, but I don't remember ever hearing anything like, "Oh, he might flip." It was always kind of like once he committed, he committed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, outside of him, obviously he stands out to me. Khalil Ware, in his first game from Oregon, making an impact already. 14-6. They're going to rely on him a lot this year. Seeing Mbako, go 14-8, not getting in any foul trouble really. 2 fouls in 25 minutes. You work with that. You can live with that. I think that's got to be encouraging. And again, they shot 30 for 62 from the field. They only took 10 3-pointers, which is kind of surprising to me on a team that probably can shoot.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not something you really you're that concerned about. 11 for 20 from the line is not good though.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't have that. I mean, Indiana has always, for whatever reason, not been able to hit their free throws like they should. I don't know what it is. I don't know why Mike Woodson doesn't just get them out there and make them shoot free throws until they bleed. I don't know. But for whatever reason, IU, they struggle from the free throw line, and more evidence of it here. I mean, Mackenzie Mbako, only 3 on 6 attempts, only made 3 on 6 attempts. Khalil Ware, 1 for 2. And CJ Gunn, 2 for 5. Just not get it done. You have to shoot from the free throw line better than that, even in the games like this. So, any more thoughts on this one, Noah?
No, I mean, kind of going. It's the same thing as the Nebraska game. It's hard to really write home on a game that you're not really playing anybody. They did what they were supposed to. Their starters did what they were supposed to. Beyond that, nothing crazy. Anything stand out to you here, really?
No, I think the free throw was something I was going to point out as well. I do think that, just looking at the starting lineup, Khalil Ware, and Mackenzie Mbako, Malik Renew, Xavier Johnson, this is a good starting lineup. I don't think Trey Galloway is anything super special. I think he's a good glue guy. But this is a good starting lineup, and Indiana should be able to do some good things this season. If they don't finish in the top half of the Big Ten, I think it's a pretty disappointing season for them this year. You're going to want to see Indiana compete, Indiana play well. And if you can be in the top half, certainly at least be in the top 5 of the Big Ten. I think that's what you want from them this season. So
yeah, if you're in the top half, you can make a run. I think anyone shows that.
Yeah, exactly. So I did see here while we're on. So if you don't know, people, we are recording this. We are recording this Monday night. It'll be released Tuesday night because of Halloween. So I'm still going to release it on time. But the live score updates of Iowa, Quincy. Did you see this game? It just ended.
Believe it or not, Iowa playing against Quincy was not on my my watch list for tonight.
I don't know if I'll be able to find it. I have it here on my phone because I was just going to kind of pay attention to it. No, it looks like I won't be able to find
Oh,
it.
looks like you got a score at the top: 92 Iowa, 70 Quincy.
Where?
Looks like right. Oh, there you go.
Oh, no, this isn't the right one. Okay, so on my phone. Oh, no, this is right. Okay. Oh, my phone messed up. All right. So I'm glad I pulled this up then. Okay. Iowa 92, Quincy 70. On my phone, it said final, which I don't know why it says final, but it says 57-43 final. 10 points in the second half for Iowa, 16 points in the second. I was like, oh my gosh, did Iowa find a defense? I know it's Quincy, but no, looks like they're same old Iowa, 92-70, giving up over 70 points to Quincy. Looks like we're going to have probably the same Iowa team here that we normally do. Get rid of some of these ads. I think Peyton Sanford, 22 minutes, 13 points here. You know, he's gonna probably be their leading scorer this year. We'll see what happens there. Patrick McCaffrey's coming back. Tony Perkins is there as well. For first glance here, do you have any thoughts at all, Noah?
My first thought is that Iowa's football team could probably use whoever the Iowa basketball team is using to facilitate their offense because
Make Fred McCaffrey offensive coordinator.
I mean, honestly, could it get worse? Like, I mean, gosh, this just reminds me. My first thought was literally how bad Iowa's football, offense has been, and seeing them score 93 points with 7 minutes left in this game really just makes you think that Iowa could use maybe some of these guys on the football team.
Right. All right, well, we won't investigate this too much. We didn't exactly plan to get into this, and I feel bad putting you on the spot there, Noah, with something you weren't planning on looking at. So that's the Big Ten Huddle for you. I make my guests try to look at stuff that they weren't prepared for. So, all right, we in this one, we had a few other exhibition games. I'll just mention them real fast. Illinois did play Ottawa from Kansas. They won 116-65. I didn't think that was really needed to be referenced. Michigan State beat Hillsdale 85-43. Again, I didn't really think that needed to be referenced, especially since they played some other teams. They do have a little bit more exhibition matchups coming up, but most of them are against pretty subpar opponents. Northwestern versus McAndrew, Purdue versus Grace, Wisconsin versus UW Stephen Point. I mean, a lot of these teams are teams that you just don't even know about. So
Minnesota, what are they finding these teams?
Right? They're probably Division II teams that they're just playing to get some time. So Minnesota still got one. Indiana, Michigan does have one. I think that's in a few days, though. So still a few more exhibitions that we won't be able to get to, but I didn't really feel like those were ones we needed to get to. So, all right, Noah, you got any more thoughts before we get out of here?
I'll make a call right now. Bruce Thornton, first team All Big Ten.
There we go. Okay.
I think that's going to be my final thought. Bruce Thornton, first team All Big Ten. That's my call right here.
All right, we'll see if it happens. See if Bruce Thornton can make the magic happen this season. Played really well in the scrimmage, so we'll see if it happens. So, all right, hey everybody, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Please do like and subscribe, like I said, and do visit Big Banter Sports, BigBanterSports.com. Like I said, Noah is behind the scenes. I am JR, the host of the Big Ten Huddle. We will see you again next time.